The billionaire froze the moment the little girl lifted her eyes toward him, her small hand tightening around her mother's worn sleeve as if the answer to a question she carried inside her heart stood right in front of her. The office was quiet, polished glass and steel reflecting success, but the air suddenly felt heavy, charged with a truth that had been waiting years to surface. In that instant, a routine interview shattered into something far deeper, because the look in the child's eyes was not curiosity alone, but recognition, and it would unravel lives that had been carefully kept apart. If you believe in kindness quests second chances, and that destiny often arrives without warning, take a moment now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Michael Anderson had built his empire from ambition, discipline, and a relentless belief that hard work erased all past mistakes. As the CEO of one of the largest logistics companies in the United States, his name was associated with power, precision, and control. Raised in a Christian household in Ohio, Michael learned early that reputation mattered. That success was a form of testimony. Yet beneath the tailored suits and confident boardroom presence lived a man who avoided memories he never allowed himself to face. He believed the past was something you outgrew, not something you returned to. On the morning of the interview, Michael expected nothing unusual. The position was for a night cleaning supervisor, a role far removed from the executive floor. The woman who entered the room looked nervous but composed, her clothes simple, her posture humble. She was there out of necessity, not ambition. Beside her stood her young daughter, brought along because childcare was a luxury she could not afford. The girl's shoes were scuffed, her dress slightly too big, but her eyes were bright, observant, and unafraid. Michael barely noticed the child at first, focused on reviewing paperwork, credentials, schedules. The woman's name was Sarah Collins, a single mother who had spent years working multiple cleaning jobs after her husband passed away unexpectedly. Her life had narrowed to survival, faith, and her daughter Emily. She believed in honest work and prayer, trusting that God would open doors when she could no longer push them herself. As the interview progressed, something shifted. Emily studied the room, the desk, the man behind it, with a quiet intensity. She had seen his face before, not in person, but in a framed photograph hidden away at home, a picture her mother kept tucked inside an old Bible. It was a memory Sarah never planned to explain until she knew how, a chapter of her life she closed long ago to protect them both. Michael finally looked up, and the child's gaze met his. Time slowed. There was something unsettlingly familiar in her expression, the shape of her eyes, the way she tilted her head. A wave of discomfort passed through him, followed by confusion he could not place. He dismissed it as coincidence, unaware that his carefully controlled world had just cracked open. The rest of the interview passed in a blur. Michael found himself distracted, unsettled by thoughts he did not want to examine. Sarah answered questions honestly, speaking of reliability, hard work, and gratitude for any opportunity. She never mentioned the past, never hinted at the truth that sat between them like an invisible wall. When the meeting ended, Michael approved her hiring almost instinctively, a decision that felt less like logic and more like instinct. Days turned into weeks, and Sarah began working night shifts, quietly cleaning offices long after executives went home. Emily waited in a small break room during those hours, coloring, reading, doing homework under flickering lights. Michael started staying late more often, claiming workload, but drawn by a curiosity he could no longer ignore. He noticed the child's laughter echoing softly down hallways, the way she hummed him Sarah taught her, the calm faith that seemed untouched by hardship. Memories stirred. Years ago, before the company, before the fortune, Michael had been a young man struggling to find his place. He had volunteered at a church outreach program where he met Sarah, a kind, hopeful woman whose belief in people softened his sharp edges. Their connection was brief, intense, and complicated by ambition pulling him elsewhere. When Michael left to chase success, he told himself it was temporary, that he would return once he had something to offer. Life moved faster than intention, and silence filled the gap where responsibility should have been. The realization hit him slowly, painfully. The timeline matched. The resemblance deepened. The guilt he buried for years began to claw its way back. Michael watched Emily from a distance, noticing her gentleness, her curiosity, her unexplainable familiarity. Every achievement he once celebrated now felt hollow compared to the life he might have unknowingly abandoned. Sarah sensed a change, too. She noticed Michael's lingering glances, his uncharacteristic kindness, the way his guarded demeanor softened around Emily. Fear mixed with hope inside her. She had raised her daughter believing honesty mattered, but also that timing was sacred. She prayed nightly for guidance, asking God to prepare hearts before revealing truth. The turning point came on a quiet evening when Michael overheard Emily reciting a prayer she learned from her mother, thanking God for her father even though she did not know him. The words struck him harder than any accusation could have. He realized that while he built wealth and influence, a child had grown up filling the absence he left with faith instead of bitterness. Michael confronted his past not with words, but with action. He requested a private review of employee records, confirming details he already knew in his heart. The truth settled heavily, but it also brought clarity. For the first time, he understood that success without responsibility was not achievement, but avoidance. He approached Sarah with humility, acknowledging the years lost, the pain carried in silence. There were no dramatic confrontations, only quiet recognition of shared history and unresolved wounds. Sarah did not ask for explanations or promises, only honesty and respect for the life she built protecting her daughter. Change did not happen overnight. Michael sought counseling, guidance from his faith, and legal clarity, determined to step into responsibility without disrupting Emily's sense of safety. He spent time learning who she was, not as an obligation, but as a privilege. Emily sensed something shifting too, a warmth she could not name, a presence that felt familiar and safe. The company culture changed alongside him. Michael implemented family support programs, flexible schedules, and childcare assistance for employees like Sarah, understanding that dignity in work meant acknowledging the lives behind the labor. His story quietly inspired others, not through headlines, but through consistency. Years later, Michael stood not as a distant executive, but as a man grounded in purpose. Emily thrived in stability, her faith strengthened by truth rather than secrecy. Sarah found peace knowing she protected her child while allowing space for redemption. Just before this story ends, take a moment to comment below and share whether you believe that responsibility, when embraced with humility, can heal even the deepest wounds.